Welcome back, everyone. This is Noah Armstrong. He is our featured guest today on Getting to Know You, an Owners Club exclusive podcast. Hi, Noah.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing really well. Tell me, what time zone are you in?
I'm in Eastern. I'm actually in upstate New York, so we're right at the beginning of it.
Very good. Awesome. Well, I'd love to get to know you better. And if you could just start with telling me a little bit about who you are. Who is Noah?
Yeah, so I'm Noah. I have a W-2. I have a wife and an almost 1 year old. She'll be one at the end of June. Um, I married my high school sweetheart. We've been together since we were 16. I'm 25 now. Been married for a couple of years. I have a small portfolio, nothing major. Done a couple seller finance deals, and then we do some managing for some other units around here. Um, Done some interesting deals, not a lot of them, but some pretty interesting deals.
Very good. And how did you end up getting to Owners Club? What was your journey like
Yeah.
through the start of real estate investing?
So back in, I want to say it was April of 2022, started looking at some of Pace's stuff, through stuff that he had done through Bigger Pockets, a lot of the podcasts that he'd done. Started looking at some of the free stuff and kind of, I was looking at his credibility and I was like, wow, this guy's got a lot going on here. There's some seriously cool stuff that he's doing. So I got through all of the free stuff that he was doing, realized that there was a whole community that he was building. There were about 4,500, 5,000 people at that point that were in sub 2. Got looking. I actually connected with a gentleman who's a couple hours north of me, and he was recommending the groups. I had a few phone calls with him, and he had kind of convinced me almost to join the group. After much deliberation and checking it over with the wife, we decided to join, and didn't really do too much with it. At that point, I was kind of working my way up through the ladder at the W-2 that I have, and focusing more on that and just kind of utilizing the relationships in here, but not doing too much with it day to day. It was kind of like perusing Facebook Marketplace almost for me. So got through that. One of my business partners, Teddy, was in the original Owners Club year. Through conversations that I had with him all of last year, he was talking about the exciting stuff that everybody was doing in the group, and how it kind of was changing what he was doing in his business. So, I was getting a little bit of FOMO. And this year, when I decided to book my Squad Up tickets, I was deliberating and praying and thinking about what I wanted out of Squad Up and what I wanted out of the next 5 years. And every time I thought about that, Owners Club kept coming up as kind of the next stepping stone, almost to force myself into being active in Sub 2 and in my life, just being intentional. So I was going back and forth with it during the day of the presentation that Pace did for Owners Club, and went outside after he'd done his presentation and talked with my wife for about half an hour, deciding if it was something that we really wanted to do. Because it's not, it's an investment. So we decided that it was basically, if I walked back and they still had some spots just before the last piece of the day, then I would join and we'd go through it and we'd make it work. So went in and there were a couple spots left and we joined and here we are.
Is your wife your business partner?
She is my official business partner. She is partner in life, all of that fun stuff. She's awesome.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, what are you working on right now?
Right now, I focus mainly on business buying and multifamily. I just joined a multifamily team with Heidi, also an Owners Club. I own a men's professional golf tour with Teddy now. That was probably the most interesting deal that I've done to date. So mostly businesses. I'd eventually like to get to the point where the W-2 isn't required, and I can I have a really good relationship with my boss. I work directly under him. I'd consider him a close personal friend. So I'd like to maintain that relationship and provide value to that business, but also not have to be there day to day. I'd like to be home with the kid, kids plural in the future. So my goal is freedom of time, financial freedom, that kind of thing, but ideally through businesses and multifamily.
Yeah. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about the golf tour? How you
Sure.
came to acquire that, what that's all about? What is a golf tour?
So, in short, um, basically amateurs and players who are trying to go pro out of college or out of high school, even later on in life, will play at tournaments to get their name out there, but also to be a source of income. Just to keep numbers nice and simple, maybe they'll pay $1,000 to play at any given tournament. Larger ones sometimes are a little bit more expensive, but the general idea is if you place in the top third, you'll get some sort of payout that's usually greater than your entry fee. If you get first place, for instance, you might get $10,000 or $15,000. So there's if you're good and you know you're good, then it's a nice steady source of income that will eventually turn into a nice career for you as well.
That's exciting. I know Pace is a big golfer, so
Yeah,
you never know. Maybe we'll invite him to play on your amateur tour.
awesome. We'll get them to sponsor one.
There we go. Oh, do you take sponsor? Is that how you get the prize money? Is you
Yeah,
sponsor?
that's
Do
yeah.
do people sponsor the holes or do they sponsor the whole tournament? What does that look like?
So we're still working out the details on exactly what that looks like because this is our first year running one. Um, Teddy's not a golfer. I don't consider myself a golfer either, so it's kind of ironic that we both own the tournament or own the tour. But it's I think at this given point we're looking for whole sponsors and ideally someone to sponsor the whole year. But yeah, so generally there's going to be signs out at each hole, sometimes at the tee box, online sponsors, that kind of thing.
Really cool. Now, you said you joined multifamily with Heidi. Are there other businesses that you're interested in acquiring?
Yeah. At this point, mostly focused on generally passive income, so laundromats, self storage, that kind of thing, all the typical ones. Also looking at stuff that we can utilize daily, so accounting firms, service based businesses nearby the stuff that we own would be nice. I really want to get into a property management company. I think that's got some good potential. So the end goal is to kind of have an all encompassing business that anything I do in real estate will be able to utilize every piece of what I own.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Nice. And if someone wanted to work with you, how could they bring value to you?
Um, so I'm looking mostly for deals. I'd like to, we're always perusing Biz Buy Sell and LoopNet and all that fun stuff, but off market stuff is really where the relationships are built and the money's built. The golf tour that we purchased was something that we found online. It was through Biz Buy Sell, and through underwriting that and going through all the deal process with that, we made a good relationship with the broker. Um, I feel like we have a really good relationship with the seller that we bought the tour from. He's actively trying to come back and help us out, launch everything. He's planning on being at the first couple tournaments to help us with the in-person stuff, and then he was also wondering if we'd be willing to hire him to schedule the next year for us as well. So that was kind of an interesting situation. The broker ended up backing out, which really opened us up to communicating directly with the seller and building that relationship. And it ended up being basically a zero down deal because of that.
The best kind. And if someone wanted to reach you, how do you like to be contacted?
Probably through text or call. Um, Email I'm checking daily, but I've had a lot of issues with spam filters, kind of blocking a lot.
What is your phone number?
My phone number is 607-287-3158.
Great. Well, thank you, Noah.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. If you're like me and you need a little help with technology, I have a story I want to share with you. It brings me back to when I'm 8 years old and we got our very first microwave. It was $800. And my dad carries this giant box up the stairs into the kitchen and puts it on the counter. And all he says is, don't put foil in it. My grandmother, who was a little intimidated by this microwave, asked me to help her figure it out. And like that, I knew how to run it. I knew all the things. I could help her heat up her coffee in 20 seconds. She was amazed, right? Fast forward to 2025. Here I am. I'd love to make a podcast. I have never had the opportunity to do anything, run any kind of platforms, and I come across Riverside. Their platform is so seamless that even dinosaurs like me can figure it out and create content. If this resonates with you at all, I highly recommend give Riverside a ride.